What's going on, everyone? Captain Spicy Pants here. Welcome back to the channel. If you're just starting your journey in Star Trek Online, you may not know what to do. So, today we're going to go from 0 to 65 and cover every little thing along the way, starting with the choices you'll make in picking your faction and your species. Now, if you look at the character creation screen right away, you're going to see a lot of numbers, percentages, and technobabble. Do not panic. I'm leaving the exact hardcore stats up on screen for the min-maxers to reference, but today, we're going to cut through the jargon. I'm going to tell you exactly how these races feel to play and what kind of playstyle they are best at, so you can build your ultimate captain. Let's get into it. We're kicking things off with the Federation. Real quick, you'll see options for Standard Starfleet, TOS Starfleet, and Discovery Starfleet. The TOS and Discovery characters are mechanically the same as regular Starfleet. They just have a restricted list of races to pick from. The real reason to pick these eras is for that sweet retro warp-in and transporter effects. So, we're just going to look at the main Federation roster. First up, we have humans. These are your ultimate team players. Want to build a super tough space tank or play a supportive role for your team on the ground, humans are your go-to. Next up, we have Andorians. They offer a high-risk, high-reward playstyle. They get deadlier the lower their health gets, making them perfect for aggressive ground fighters who love living on the edge. Bajorans. These are your medics. With innate healing boost, these are perfect for support healers or builds that just refuse to go down. Benzites and Bolians. These two are your elemental tanks. Benzites shrug off toxic and radiation damage, while Bolians can actually poison things that bite them. It's great for surviving hazardous ground missions. Betazoids. These are your mind readers who excel at lowering enemy aggro. If you want enemies to ignore you while you safely heal your team or yourself, pick a Betazoid. Alright, let's get into the Ferengi. They have decent ground combat senses, but let's be real, you pick Ferengi for their innate 20% store discount. We have Packlids, Rigelians, Saurians, Tellarites, and Trill. I grouped these together because they are the kings of survivability. Whether it's the Saurians' cold-blooded resistances, the Trill's hypermetabolism, or the Rigelians' literal panic button escapability, these races are fantastic for staying alive when the phaser fire gets heavy. Vulcans, surprisingly incredible for getting up close and personal. They have high melee damage and the mental discipline to completely shrug off mind-altering attacks. Aliens, the undisputed champion of flexibility. Aliens don't have a locked-in trait. Instead, they get an extra customizable slot for both ground and space. If you want to customize your stats perfectly, or build a crazy, flexible character, pick an alien. Next up, the Klingon Defense Force. Glory to you and your house. Klingons are exactly what you would expect. They hit hard, they draw a lot of enemy attention, and they love a good brawl. The perfect KDF tank. Have the Gorn. Massive reptilian bruisers. They have incredible melee damage and laugh off plasma and fire attacks. They do not care. Lethians are telepathic mercenaries. They get a clickable ability to literally stun enemies with their minds, making them great for crowd control on the ground. Nausicaans. These are brutal brawlers with the absolute best KDF trait for pure damage output. Their pirate trait gives you amazing stealth and devastating exploit damage. Then we have Orions, masters of manipulation. They can confuse enemies and turn them against each other, making them perfect for avoiding aggro altogether. Once again, we have aliens just like the Federation. KDF aliens get that extra trait slot for ultimate min-maxing power. Now, let's talk about the Dominion. You actually have two choices here, though one is a premium choice that doesn't become available right at the start of the game unless you purchase it. Both start at level 60, allowing you to jump right into the endgame action. We have the standard Jem'Hadar, which is bred for battle. They are highly aggressive ground troops who can literally turn invisible and pop out for a massive ambush attack. Then we have the Jem'Hadar Vanguard. This is the premium C-Store option. They get all the same sneaky hard-hitting ground abilities as a standard Jem'Hadar, but they also get huge bonuses to their space combat as well. This is a fantastic premium choice for maximizing firepower everywhere. And last but certainly not least, we have the Romulans. Stunning and strong, they naturally hit harder in melee combat, but the real draw is their built-in infiltrator trait. This makes their starship's cloaking device ambush last much longer and keeps them stealthier in space. Once again, we have aliens. This is going to give you a blank slate to build the exact customized commander that you want. Just like Bob, our free-to-play Romulan alien who is currently tackling the Zero to Endgame challenge series. We have Remans. This is a premium shock troop that you can unlock later in the game. They are incredibly durable, and they have an optional ability to literally drain the life force from their enemies to heal themselves. Alright, we're going to build our own character for this guide, and many players are going to ask, which path should I take? I want you to be assured that the paths on here are very simply broken down as put on the screen. That being said, we are going to choose science for our choice today. For now, don't worry, your career does not lock you into a specific starship. In STO, any class can fly any ship. Instead, your career path simply dictates your unique captain abilities in space and what gear you can use on the ground. First up is Tactical, your pure damage dealer. If you want to melt shields and blow up enemy ships as fast as possible, pick Tactical. On the ground, you're a heavy weapon specialist using grenades and massive damage buffs to lead the charge. Next up is Engineering, the kings of power and survivability. In space, you get an incredible panic button ability that instantly repairs your hull and shields. On the ground, you act like a builder, summoning automated phaser turrets, combat drones, and shield barriers. Finally, we have Science Captains. These are basically space wizards. In space, you manipulate the battlefield by disabling enemy systems, draining shields, and summoning fleets of holographic ships. On the ground, you handle team healing while blasting enemies with lightning and radiation hazards. Pick the playstyle that sounds the most fun to you and get out there. Alright, now that you've hit engage, you're greeted with a cutscene depending on what faction you have chosen. Now, you're going to get into what they call the tutorial. Star Trek Online has done a pretty good job of fleshing out this tutorial, and I highly suggest that you follow the markers on screen as shown here. At this point in our career, we're going to be doing some minor time jumps to cover the necessities along our path. Now don't fret, Captain, I'm not going to skip so far ahead that we don't cover some of the more important things in this game. However, the tutorial is going to cover a lot of things that are essential, and there is no sense in me doing a redundant coverage of this. So make sure you follow the screen prompts and take some time to adjust your HUD or go through the options. If you're not sure how to do that, now is the perfect time to mention that we have a video already shown here on screen and in the description below for those kind of tweaks and adjustments you may want to do yourself. For now, let's go ahead and follow the prompts on screen and the markers, as this will get you settled in to Star Trek Online for both your ground and space game. Congratulations, Captain. You have now completed the tutorial and are heading to your main faction hub, whether it's Earth Space Dock for the Federation, Kronos for the Klingons, or the Romulan Flotilla for the Romulans. If you are not sure how to play the game from here, don't worry, I've got you. Let's jump into the essentials in Star Trek Online, starting with the minimap, which is basically your control center. It has a ton of tiny buttons wrapped around it, and it can be super overwhelming at first. We're not going to focus on the icons inside the minimap just yet. I will put up an overlay as far as the important ones are concerned, but for now, let's focus on the outer squares and let's break them down. starting from the left side, moving across the bottom, and finishing on the right. Up top, we have your location. Every map in Star Trek Online is given a map name, and every map has an allowable amount of players in it. Oftentimes, you may need to move maps, whether it be for less players due to lag, or you want to catch up with a friend. You simply click here and navigate accordingly. Next up is the transporter button, which looks like a person beaming up on ground and a galaxy in space. Use this to instantly beam back to your starship or to leave a mission in space as long as you are not in combat. Following that is the transwarp icon, that little sphere icon. Clicking this will open up a transwarp menu in space, allowing you to travel to systems throughout Star Trek Online. Below that is the scanner, which looks like a stacked funnel. This will point you in the right direction by creating a circle around your character or ship, whether you need to get to an objective or you want to scan for crafting materials. Finally, on the bottom left is the mission journal, the little screen with the comm badge. This opens up your captain's log and episode list so you can track your current missions, any current events, and in-game progress. Now moving across the bottom row from left to right, first you have the gold C store button and the pink dilithium store button. This is where you go for all your premium and in-game currency shopping. This usually requires some form of real-world currency and can be earned in-game through various methods, but as a beginner, this is not going to be covered at this time. Next are your in-game management systems. The 3 people icon opens your duty officer roster, admiralties, and research and development window. Next to that is the 3 arrows icon, which opens up the PvE queue window where you can group up with other players for cooperative multiplayer missions, as well as patrols and any special events running. Next, we have the 3 badges icon. This opens your fleet menu for players wishing to join a bigger group of people and obtain extra bonuses for your character's progression. Tucked all the way in the bottom right corner in that tiny drop down arrow, this is a super handy quick menu that lets you do things like instantly visit your starship's interior bridge or visit your shuttlecraft later on. Is your character status, person silhouette. This brings up your character screen so you can access your skills and equipment for both ground and space, as well as sort through your bridge officers along the way. Right below it is your inventory button, which on PC is automatically keyed to the I button. But in case you want to manage your inventory and can't remember the keybind, this is where you go. You can also see your crafting materials and in-game assets such as marks and dilithium. Next is the envelope icon for your mail, where you can receive messages and items from other players or the exchange should you choose to purchase something. Below that is the social menu, the icon with the 3 people. This opens up your friends list, your block list, and team options. Then we have the game menu, the little gear icon. This is where you go to change your visual options, rearrange your HUD layout, and tweak your keybinds. I suggest taking some time to play around with these settings that makes the most sense to you, as every player is going to have personal preferences. And last but not least, the question mark at the bottom opens up the help and support menu. If you ever get stuck or need to report a bug, this is where you go. There you have it, your mini-map fully explained. Notice how I did not mention console players, because console players simply need to press one button on their controller to navigate through all those details. This is your, well, I don't know what they call it, so in old school controller terms, your start button, and everything else will be laid out in text. After you've completed the tutorial, the game is in your hands. I won't tell you how to play your game, but I will suggest that as a new player, you become more familiar with your ship and your ground game. Most simplistic way to do this is to follow the story path. Here, you'll notice on the screen that Admiral Quinn, or your faction's main quest giver, has a lot of available quests, and you may not be sure what to do or where to start. As I said, I won't dictate how you play, but in this guide, we're going to do the stories in order. We will be skipping ahead because I don't want to spoil the story, but I do want to show you that you can close out his dialogue by clicking the X button on PC or whatever button backs you out of dialogue on console. Usually this is B for Xbox or circle for PlayStation, though don't quote me on that. As we navigated in the minimap, open your mission journal and start at the top. Now the missions are shown on screen, and you'll notice that you have options to either travel there yourself or you can transwarp to its exact location. That choice is yours. We'll select transwarp as it's simple and fast and will get us to the mission directly. I will go complete the mission, and we will reconvene afterwards to go over items and inventory management. Alright, mission complete. You'll notice that when you finish a mission, you report back to Admiral Quinn or your faction leader and receive your mission rewards. For this one, we picked up a photon torpedo launcher and a personal shield. Now when you open your inventory, you're going to see a bunch of gear. If you're brand new, it can be totally confusing trying to figure out what's actually good, what you should keep, and what you should throw away. Let's break down gear rarity and the mark system so it's super easy to understand. The gear in Star Trek Online is color-coded by Rarity, which determines how many modifier slots an item can have. It starts with white or common gear, which has 0 modifiers and is something you'll replace very quickly. Next is green or uncommon, which gives you 1 modifier. Then you have blue or rare gear with 2 modifiers, making it a solid starting gear for early leveling. After that is purple or very rare. This has 3 modifiers and is the standard sweet spot for most regular items you'll find while leveling. Finally, you have violet and gold gear, which are ultra rare and epic. These are the highest tiers in the game, maxing out with the highest stats and giving you an extra passive power unlock at the epic level. Right next to that item name, you'll also see a mark level written as MK followed by a Roman numeral from 1 up to 15. These marks represent the overall power level and level requirement of the gear. As you level up your character from 1 to 65, you'll start seeing higher marks drop. A Mark II item is naturally stronger than a Mark I, and as you get into those higher marks, you'll start getting into true endgame territory. So, what do you do with all this stuff? First, always check your stats and equip whatever upgrades your ship or your ground loadout needs. For all that old gear you don't need anymore, you have 2 options. You can use your replicator to instantly turn it into energy credits, or you can use the upgrade and salvage system to break it down into salvage material. You're definitely going to want those materials later on when you start upgrading your absolute favorite gear. Now, there are some major exceptions you'll need to watch out for, like lockboxes, event items, and provisions. For example, you'll randomly receive infinity lockboxes as regular loot drops. Unlocking these is completely optional, and you should be forewarned that opening them requires a master key. These keys can either be purchased with real-world currency or bought off the exchange from other players using in-game energy credits. Since this is a beginner's guide, it is absolutely not for me to decide how you play or what you should or should not do with your money. Just know that you can easily experience everything this game has to offer completely free to play. You will also stumble across items like provisions and event commodities. Make sure to hold on to these because they are incredibly useful for duty officer assignments, which we are actually going to touch on here shortly. Now, you may have noticed while we were sorting the inventory, I kept having things on screen that said, you can sell for energy credits. Well, before we go on, let's briefly go over what Star Trek Online's currencies are and what they mean. When you look at your Assets tab, the very first thing you'll see is energy credits, or EC. This is the standard currency of the game, which you can earn simply by playing missions, defeating enemies, and selling off that old gear we were just talking about. You'll use this for everyday expenses, buying basic items from vendors, and trading with other players on the exchange. Right below that, you will find your reputation marks. As you start participating in multiplayer task force operations, or TFOs, you will earn these different marks like Omega and Romulan. These are used specifically to level up your different reputation factions to unlock powerful in-game weapons and gear. Next up are your fleet assets, which include fleet credits and fleet marks. Once you join a player fleet, you can contribute resources to fleet projects to earn those credits. You can then turn around and spend them at your fleet holdings to buy top-tier fleet ships and specialized equipment. Then we have dilithium, which is one of the most important currencies in the Higher game. You earn dilithium ore by doing just about everything, from daily missions to events. However, you have to refine it before you can spend it, using the Refine Dilithium button, and the game limits you to refining 8,000 ore per day per character. Refined dilithium is used to purchase high quality gear, upgrade your equipment, Phoenix prize packs, and buying things from the dilithium store. After that is Gold Press Platinum. You can earn this through duty officer missions or playing minigames. It is mostly just a fun secondary currency used to buy cosmetic items like holo projectors, so don't stress too much about hoarding it. At the bottom of the tab is Salvage. Like we mentioned earlier, when you break down old gear using the upgrade and salvage window, it turns into this salvage currency. You will use this material later on when you want to re-engineer the stats and modifiers on your favorite in-game weapons and gear. Finally, even though it is not listed directly on this tab, we need to talk about Zen. Zen is the premium currency of Star Trek Online, which is typically purchased with real-world money. You use Zen and the C-Store to buy premium starships, character unlocks, and cosmetic items. However, if you are playing strictly free-to-play, you can actually trade your refined dilithium with other players on the dilithium exchange to earn Zen without ever spending a dime. But there is a catch here. If you are a PC player, the window to receive Zen is quite a wait. And while the development team is exploring options to tighten that window up, you can currently expect several weeks to months before receiving that Zen. Okay, we have covered inventory and assets. Now, we'll begin playing the game ourselves and take our very first time jump. I will see you then. Welcome back to our minor jump. You've been playing through the story, leveling up, and you just hit level 10. Congratulations, it is time for your first ship. In Star Trek Online, you will receive a free ship token for advancing every 10 levels all the way up to level 40. To claim your new vessel, you'll need to head back to your faction's main hub, like Earth Space Dock or Kronos. Once you arrive, use that minimap knowledge we covered earlier to locate the ship vendor icon and head over to speak with them. When the ship selection window opens, you're going to see a lot of options. We'll notice right away that some of these ships cost premium currency. As a new player, I highly suggest ignoring those for now. Of course, if you see a ship you must absolutely have, that is completely your choice. But for the sake of this beginner's guide, we are going to focus purely on the free ships you earn just by playing the game. Every class and build in Star Trek Online is different. Because of that, my biggest suggestion for a new player is to select a completely different type of ship every time you reach one of those 10 level milestones. On the selection screen, it will clearly label the type of ship you are looking at, such as a cruiser, an escort, or a science vessel. The reason I suggest mixing it up is so that you can get a practical feel for how each category flies. That way, when it comes time to make your final in-game decision later on, you will already have a broad idea of the exact ship type and playstyle that makes the most sense for you. While you are browsing these different ships, there is one major detail you need to pay attention to, and that is the bridge officer seating. The specific seating on a ship dictates exactly what kind of abilities you can slot and use while in space combat. Understanding those seats is crucial to your survivability, which is going to bring us right into our next topic, your bridge officers. So here we are, looking at some bridge officer candidates. When you are selecting a new officer to join your crew, you will notice they come in different rarities. Just like the gear we looked at earlier, while a higher rarity officer might come with higher tier default abilities right out of the box, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Their starting abilities really do not matter. You can easily train these officers with completely different abilities at a training manual vendor, which is exactly what we are going to cover next. But for right now, your number one priority is simply picking a bridge officer whose career path matches the available seating on your new ship. If your ship has an empty tactical seat, you need a tactical officer to fill it. It really is that straightforward. Keep in mind, while their abilities can be swapped out, one thing you do want to pay attention to is their personal traits. Just like your captain, bridge officers have unique traits that provide passive bonuses in space or on the ground. Because there are so many different types of officers in the game, and every single player's build is unique, take a moment to read over their traits and choose the one that best complements the specific playstyle you are going for. Once you have made your choice and officially commissioned them to join your crew, you will pull up your stations menu. This is where you actually assign your new officers to those available bridge officer seats we talked about. Doing this links them to your ship and populates your ability tray with their powers, meaning you are fully loaded and ready for combat. Even though you have your officers slotted and are technically ready for combat, you may want to train them in different abilities to better fit your personal playstyle before heading out. Just like before, we will locate the Bridge Officer Trainer icon in our minimap and head right over to them. When you interact with the trainer, you'll see a massive list of training manuals neatly categorized by officer career and ability type. There are a ton of options here, whether you want your ship to fire at multiple targets using beam fire at will, or you want to unleash a massive salvo of projectiles using torpedo spread. You need to purchase the manual that corresponds not only to your officer's career, but also to the specific seat available on your ship. Here's the easiest way to understand it. Think of your ship stations like a simple color matching system. One box, Ensign, uses white common manuals. 2 boxes, Lieutenant, uses white and green uncommon manuals. 3 boxes, Lieutenant Commander, uses white, green, and blue rare manuals. 4 boxes, Commander, uses white, green, blue, and purple very rare manuals. So, for example, if I want my tactical officer to use Torpedo Spread 1, I will purchase the white ensign level manual. I cannot train them in Torpedo Spread 2 or 3 if my current ship only has a 1-box tactical ensign seat available. However, if my science officer needed Tractor Beam 2 and my ship has a 2-box science lieutenant station, I can safely grab the green manual for them. Once you have purchased the manuals you want, open up your character window, select your bridge officer, and click on their skills tab. Scroll down to the new ability and click Learn. Now keep in mind, you may be prompted to promote the officer first using expertise. Do not fret over this. Expertise is a resource you earn passively just by playing the game. Once your officer has successfully learned this new ability, open up your Stations tab and make sure you actually apply that new power to your ship's seating. Keep in mind, this exact same process applies to customizing their ground combat abilities as well. Alright, you've now trained your bridge officer, you're ready to get back out there onto the frontiers and keep playing the game. Though you may not have trained any skill abilities yet. This becomes available straight out of the game as soon as you hit level 2. However, we're going to go across this right now, and I'm going to be very vague about the skill tree because, as I have been saying throughout this whole guide, everybody's builds are different. That being said, I still want to give you a basic breakdown of how each skill tree performs. Every time you level up, you earn skill points to spend. And looking at this massive web of options for the very first time can be completely overwhelming. So, to keep it in its most simplistic form, the space tree is divided into 3 main color-coded paths: engineering, science, and tactical. The gold engineering tree focuses entirely on survivability and power management. This is where you increase your ship's maximum hull capacity, damage resistances, and how efficiently your ship's subsystems manage power. If you find yourself getting blown up a little too often and want to turn your ship into a flying tank, you may want to put some points in here. Next up, Science Tree. It is centered around shield strength, exotic damage, and utility. If you are the type of player who loves loading up your primary ability tray with science attack powers and control abilities to completely lock down the battlefield, you will want to dive deep into this tree. It also dictates how fast your shields regenerate and how well your ship can detect cloaked enemies. And finally, we have the Tactical Tree. This is all about weapons and damage. Spending points here improves your ship's raw weapon damage, accuracy, and overall combat performance. If your main goal is to simply make enemy ships explode as fast as possible, this is where you'll want to invest heavily. Right next to your space skills, you will notice a separate tab for your ground skills. The game actually awards you separate ground points as you level up, so you never have to choose between upgrading your ship or your captain. This tree is much smaller and straightforward, focusing on 4 basic things: boosting your personal health, your shields, increasing your ground weapon damage, and making your ground abilities, which are called kit modules, much more effective. As a brand new player, do not stress too much about creating the perfect build right out of the gate for either space or ground. A great beginner rule of thumb for your ship is to put a few points into engineering and science just to keep it healthy, and push the majority of your points in tactical so you can actually win your fights. If you feel like you made a mistake, do not worry. The game hands out skill retrain tokens as you level up, allowing you to completely reset your skill tree later down the road once you figure out exactly what kind of playstyle suits you best. Moving on, our next small time jump brings us up to level 11, which is a major milestone because it introduces you to the duty officer system. As you play Star Trek Online, you will begin to recruit a massive roster of lower deck crew members called duty officers. When you hit 11, the game will actually automatically hail you to grab your very first starter pack, just like you see here on screen. So what exactly are duty officers and what do they do? You can think of them as your ship's behind-the-scenes workforce. You will naturally earn new ones simply by playing the game, but you can also recruit them through specific duty officer assignments, regular mission rewards, fleet holdings, the exchange, and premium stores. Just like your bridge officers, these duty officers come in different rarities and have varying abilities. However, instead of clicking a button to use their powers, duty officers provide passive abilities that automatically trigger when you perform certain actions. Because there are hundreds of different duty officers in the game, I am not going to overwhelm you by going over every single one. Instead, let's look at one simple example. Say you have a projectile weapon specialist whose ability reads, "Chance to gain critical chance when firing projectiles." It is exactly as straightforward as it sounds. You simply slot that officer into your active space roster, and from then on, when you fire torpedoes, you have a chance to automatically increase your critical hit chance for a short time. It is a fantastic way to fine-tune your ship's build without ever having to manage any extra buttons during combat. Now, besides slotting them into your active roster for those great passive combat bonuses, the other massive part of the duty officer system is sending them out on actual assignments. If you open up your duty officer menu, you will see a tab specifically for assignments. You can think of this as sending your lower deck crew on their own away missions while you focus on the main story. When you browse this list, you will see various tasks that require specific types of officers. Simply assign a few crew members to a task, and after a set amount of real time, they will return with rewards. This is exactly where those extra items we talked about earlier in your inventory come into play. Things like provisions, entertainment provisions, or medical supplies are often required to fund these specific assignments. By keeping your duty officers constantly working in the background, you are setting yourself up for success. Even while you are offline or out playing other missions, your crew is working around the clock to passively earn you a steady stream of energy credits, dilithium, character experience, and even new duty officers to add to your roster. Before we move on from duty officers, there is one crucial tab tied directly to your crew that we cannot forget to mention: Research and Development, or R&D. Found right at the top of your duty officer window, R&D is where you assign your lower deck crew members to craft weapons, components, and specialized equipment from scratch. The system is divided into different research schools such as beams, cannons, science, shields, and engineering, as a brand new player, your primary goal here isn't necessarily to craft in-game gear on day one, but rather to start consistently leveling up each of these individual schools. You do this by assigning your duty officers on the daily 20-hour bonus research XP projects, just like you see me collecting and starting on screen. So why should you make it a daily habit to level these up? While crafting better gear and upgrading components is great, the real jackpot comes from when you reach level 15 in any given school. As you can see from the charts on screen right now, hitting level 15 unlocks top tier permanent personal traits for your captain, whether it is a beam barrage for extra beam weapon damage, give your all for massive engineering damage reduction, or particle manipulator for huge critical hits on your exotic science powers. These R&D traits are foundational to building a powerhouse in-game character. Because it takes a bit of time to level these schools all the way up to 15, you'll want to make sure you start running those daily research projects as early as possible, as this system unlocks at level 15. Alright, our next major time jump takes us right into the in-game journey from level 50 all the way up to level 65. Once you hit level 50, you are going to notice a big change in how your character progresses. You no longer earn standard points for your regular skill tree. Every time you fill your experience bar from here on out, you will earn specialization points. If you open up your skills menu and click over to the specializations tab, you are going to see a whole new set of advanced skill trees. You'll see paths with names like Temporal Operative, Pilot, Miracle Worker, Intelligence Officer, and a few others. Think of these as advanced career paths that grant you incredibly powerful passive bonuses, stat boosts, and even unique abilities for both space and ground combat. The way this system works is that you can select one path to be your primary specialization, which allows you to unlock and use the entire tree, and a secondary path to be your secondary specialization, which only lets you utilize the first couple of tiers. For example, if you want your ship to be highly maneuverable, you might choose Pilot. If you prefer dealing exotic damage and manipulating the battlefield like you see on screen, Temporal Operative is a fantastic choice. Just like your regular skill tree, please do not feel paralyzed by all the choices. You will continue to earn these points infinitely long after you hit the level cap of level 65. That means you can eventually max out every single one of these specialization trees if you play enough. For now, just take a minute to read through the different paths, pick the one that sounds the most fun for your playstyle, activate it, and start spending those points. Our next big milestone kicks in just 2 levels later at level 52, and this is where you truly earn your rank. Welcome to the Admiralty system. If you like the duty officer system we covered earlier, you're going to love this, because it works in a very similar way. However, instead of sending individual crew members on small tasks, you are stepping into the shoes of a fleet commander and sending entire starships on massive campaigns across the galaxy. When you open the Admiralty window, you will see different faction campaigns offering various assignments. Each assignment has a specific tactical, engineering, and science stat requirement that you need to beat in order to succeed. Simply select a mission, choose ships from your roster whose stats combine to meet or exceed those requirements, and send them on their way. Just like your duty officers, they will complete these missions in real time and background while you go about playing the rest of the game. Now you might be wondering, how do you actually get more ships to send on those missions? The great news is that you automatically unlock an Admiralty card for almost every single ship you acquire. All those free ships you picked up every 10 levels while leveling your character, they're already in your roster. Any event ships you earn, fleet ships you buy, or premium ships you decide to fly down the road will instantly grant you a new card to use. There are a number of free ships that you can obtain in the game. I have a guide on this, it's in the description below. The more ships you collect over your career, the larger and more versatile your Admiralty fleet becomes. So why should you care about keeping those assignment slots full? The Admiralty system is arguably the most lucrative time investment in all of Star Trek Online. Completing these assignments will reward you with massive amounts of energy credits, dilithium, and crafting materials. But most importantly, they pay out huge chunks of character experience. Consistently running your Admiralty missions is hands down the best and fastest way to grind out all those specialization points we talked about. Ensuring your captain continues to grow incredibly powerful long after you hit the level cap. Now, while we are sitting at level 65 here, and for the pacing of this guide, the reputation system actually unlocks as early as level 50. As a new player, you will definitely want to consider starting this daily process as soon as you hit 50, because this is where the true endgame begins. If you open your character status menu and click the Reputations tab, you will see a list of different factions from Discovery to Gamma. Advancing your standing with these factions is how you unlock some of the absolute best in-game space weapons, ground armor, and passive captain traits in the entire game. For example, you can see Tilly's review pending modified shield from the Discovery Legends reputation. Unlocking specialized gear like this is what takes your ship from a basic shield you picked up in-game to a master survivability booster in your shield game later on. To get your hands on this gear, you have to level up or tier up each reputation by completing daily projects. For most of the really powerful items like Tilly's shield, you will need to reach tier 5 in that specific faction. To run those daily projects and eventually buy the gear itself, you need specific currencies called marks, which we briefly touched on earlier. There are a few great ways to earn these marks. You can earn them by playing quick single-player patrols or by opening Endeavor boxes, which is a system we will actually touch on next. However, the best absolute way to earn these is by playing multiplayer task force operations or TFOs. If you look at the screen, you will see me opening the TFO menu and joining a queue. Playing random operations is fantastic because not only do you get a quick match, but you are also rewarded with a bonus box at the end of the mission that lets you choose exactly which marks you want. Once you have your marks, head right back to the Reputation tab, select your faction, and slot the daily Reputation project. Once you finally hit tier 5 and unlock that top tier gear, purchasing it requires a combination of your earned marks, expertise, energy credits, and dilithium. Remember that highly valuable pink ore we talked about refining earlier in the guide? This is exactly where you'll be spending a massive chunk of it. You just rinse and repeat this daily process across your different reputations until you unlock all that sweet in-game gear for your build. Now, I saved this final section for last because we have a very special guest. For those of you who are new, this is Bob.
Hi everyone, I'm Bob.
And he is not about to like what I'm going to do to his account. We are diving straight into the Endeavor system, what it is, how it works, and why Bob's account is about to take one for the team. Let's get right into it. As part of the endgame journey at level 60, the Endeavor system unlocks. Now, looking at our personal endeavors here, we've got some tasks to knock out. But since I want to speed things up for the sake of time, we are going to use some of Bob's hard-earned dilithium to buy personal reroll tokens.
Bro, that's my dilithium, what the hell?
Don't worry about him, he'll live. As you can see, we check our list and spot a Tetrion damage daily task. Luckily, we already have a Tetrion weapon equipped on Bob's ship, so we can knock that out easily. For the other task, we don't feel like doing right now, we are going to use those tokens to re-roll them into something more convenient. Quick tip though, I do not recommend brand new players waste dilithium on these re-rolls unless you have a comfortable surplus sitting around. Because there are so many different daily missions in the rotation, I will drop a useful link in the description below on how to knock these out fast and effectively. Why do we even care about doing Endeavor? Every single time you complete them, you rank up your account-wide Endeavor level, which permanently grants you extra passive stats and abilities for both your space and ground game. Things like critical severity, max hull, damage resistances, and much more. It is one of the most important grinds in the game, and as of 2026, Cryptic introduced a brand new way to gain endeavors called Deep Space Encounters, or DSEs for short. So, I am going to go complete Bob's dailies and we will reconvene for the DSE system right after. Welcome back. Now that we have warped out and finished our daily task, we find ourselves right back in the middle of sector space. This is actually the exact place you need to be to dive into the Deep Space Encounter System, or DSEs for short. If you've been around the Star Trek Online community for a while, you might remember DSEs as these old, repetitive wave battles sitting out in the galaxy that mostly just involved killing 15 enemies and moving on. But with the release of the Undiscovered update, Cryptic completely overhauled and modernized this entire system from the ground up. Instead of just fighting through standard hit point sponges, DSEs have been transformed into quick, bite-sized micro missions that only take a few minutes to complete. When you drop into one of these encounters, you will be faced with a randomized situation that falls into one of three distinct categories: waves, where you fend off incoming enemy skirmishes; support, where you assist local allies with various tasks; or defense, where you might rebuild turrets and set up weapon platforms to protect the local populace. To make things even more exciting, the game constantly pulls from randomized lists of enemies, allies, and stunning environmental backdrops, meaning every single encounter will feel fresher than the last. Okay, how do you actually find these new adventures? They are scattered all across sector space, specifically through the reaches of the Alpha, Beta, and Delta quadrants. All you have to do is check your area map or look at your new compass UI for the golden hexagon icon. Fly your ship right up to it and enter. Don't forget to grab your daily wrapper mission as shown here in the Available tab. Because these locations and content are randomized several times an hour, you will always have a steady rotation of fresh activities awaiting for you. The most important reason to make DSCs a regular part of your routine brings us right back to our last topic, endeavors. While these micro missions are a fun, relaxing way to explore the final frontier, completing them actually rewards you with much coveted bonus Endeavor XP. This means once you finish your standard daily endeavor, you no longer have to stop your progression. You can jump straight into running deep space encounters to keep earning those extra experience points, letting you level up your account-wide passive perks faster than ever before. Just remember that the daily wrapper is currently 2,500 additional Endeavor XP per character, and you can earn an additional 12,500 Endeavor XP for the whole account every single day. This could change, so I don't want to go over it too much more, but this will wrap up the guide. And there you have it, Captains. From picking out your character to Endgame, you now have the ultimate foundation to tackle everything Star Trek Online has to throw at you. Remember, STO is a massive universe, so do not feel like you have to master every single one of the systems in one day. Take your time, experiment with different ship builds, enjoy the story mission, and play at whatever pace feels right for you. If this guide helped you get your bearings out in space or on the ground, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop any questions you have down in the comment section below. Be sure to check out the video description for useful links, community resources, and details on where you can jump into our live streams to hang out and chat in real time with us. Until next time, fly safe, have fun out there. I'm Captain Spicy Pants, and I'll see you on the frontiers.